Make sure I've got the right agenda. It's all swearing in, I knew that wasn't. Okay, I know the people here are part of the agenda that I see out in the audience, so I don't see any other groups or individuals. So I think next item on the agenda is we have representatives from United for Recovery, and I think Tammy Gibson would like to have a few minutes to address the council on what they're doing. And I know Councilwoman Hart could not be here tonight, but she's been asking for some time on our agenda for you all. She's been working with you all, I know.
Okay. Do you want me to come up there?
You can? Yeah.
Okay. I've never been to one of these. I'm Tammy Gibson. I'm with United for Recovery. We're a nonprofit here in Bardstown. And we serve individuals and families that are impacted by substance use disorder. And we do that by education, prevention, and recovery support. We have done a lot of things already in our first year, and we've got a lot of plans for the next year. We have started an advocacy group that's going to be meeting every Monday at 6:30. It's going to be at the old courthouse on the second floor by Dean's office, and that's where we'll be. We're focusing on three things right now, and those three things are we're trying to reduce fatalities. And we're doing that in cooperation with Medica Pharmacy. They have a grant for our community, so they're able to provide free Narcan and training. We've also partnered up with the Lincoln Trail Health Department, and they're able to provide basic CPR training. Anyone that's 18 years or older can get free Narcan, which reverses an opioid overdose or poisoning. Anyone that is 16 years old with a parental consent can get the Narcan training and can get Narcan. So that's our first initiative. We want to reduce our fatalities. The second thing that we want to do is reduce the stigma. So we would like to do that by utilizing public service announcements, and we would like to initiate a couple of those for our Nelson County area in our Nelson County viewing area. And the third thing that we need to do, and I feel like it's an immediate need, is we need information dissemination. And we don't believe in reinventing the wheel, so we've looked at what the Louisville Coalition for the Homeless does, and they have this little booklet. This is actually a large booklet. The one we want is quite little. It's something that can fit in your pocket or your wallet, your purse. And what we'd like to do is we would like to put mental health, substance use resources into this booklet, and also all our Nelson County community resources. We have a lot of great resources, but people that are in need might not know where to go to look for those. So we would like to have something developed where if a police officer meets someone in need, or the fire department meets someone in need, or any office that we have, whether it be city or county, has someone in need, that there's a book that we can give them that has addresses, and it has phone numbers, and it has ways to get help that's readily available already in our county. There's a lot of people doing really great things, but we don't always know where to find them. So those are some of the things that we're doing immediately. Terry's going to pass out some papers. We do a lot of other things, but I don't want to take up a lot of your time because I could talk for like 6 hours. So she's going to pass out some papers. We have a really great website for our community. It's called unitedforrecovery.org, and it links you up to Kentucky resources and national resources. And everything we do is free. We have no paid employees. We are completely volunteer based. So, anyway, we appreciate your support, your leadership. She's going to pass out a pre-registration for our Narcan training. We're going to be having those every 2 months. The first one is April the 23rd at the Civic Center at 6, and the next one is June the 24th at the Civic Center. And we would love for our people in leadership to be there because that tells our community that you care. That tells them, it shows them by your actions what they can also do to prevent fatalities and get our people the health care assistance that they need. So, thank you so much.
Sorry, that date, was that on here?
April the 23rd.
That's a Tuesday night, it's one of our meetings.
It is. The
Unless you
next-
got a real crash course for us where we can take it in about 15 minutes.
Now, one thing I did not say is that medical pharmacy, you can walk into any medical pharmacy in Bardstown or Springfield, and you can go there, and you can get Narcan trained and get your Narcan. You don't have to wait for us. But the next one I scheduled on a Monday, so you guys can be busy, so you can come. So.
How long is the training?
The training for Narcan is about 15 minutes. It's nasal Narcan, which is, it's 4 milligrams. You get 2 4-milligram doses. It's very quick training. Nasal Narcan is, if you've ever given yourself a nasal spray, that is nasal Narcan. That's exactly how you do a nasal Narcan. But the training will be very quick. The basic CPR training that's offered is not a certification, but the Lincoln Trail teaches you what to do when you come upon, and this could be anyone in any situation. It's basic rescue and CPR skills. But it'll be an hour. There'll be other resources there. Our second training, we're probably going to pull in as many resources as we can, and it's offering. You just have to pre-register, and everything that we do for the community is without fee.
You know, I attended one of their kind of organizational meetings that Tammy and them had along with PATH Coalition, and then, you know, Chief Cressig and Councilwoman Hart were also there. And I know, Chief, you've been kind of working with these in a collaborative way. Do you have anything you'd like to add to what they're trying to get done here in Bardstown, Nelson County through this organization?
I think they're doing a great job. I think, you know, when they're reaching so many people, and their meeting was one of the most well-attended meetings that I've been to. It was packed. There wasn't a seat left in that room, which I thought was just a tremendous sight to see that night, because you had so many people that were there to get help, to get information, and that wanted to make a difference in the community. So that was just an enlightening experience to see. And it was late at night too. It was an 8 o'clock meeting. And so to have so many people there late at night was really a great thing. And so it's an important thing, you know, in our city and every city across the country. You know, this is a topic. If your family's not touched by the drug epidemic, then consider yourself blessed, because it's touching every family, every walk of life, and it devastates your family if you have someone that's addicted to drugs. And so it's something that we really have to look at, not just from once they're addicted, but we have to look at prevention. Kids are getting addicted at a younger age. You're looking at kids as early as 11 years old that are starting to get addicted to drugs. So it's something that, as a community, we really have to come together and really look at this from a holistic approach of how can we come together to try to educate our community, educate not only parents but grandparents, because a lot of grandparents are raising children and grandchildren, and try to help with this problem and this epidemic that we're facing as a community. So it's not, we can't arrest our way out of this problem. There's a lot of things that we have to do and come together. So I'm glad that we're working together, and Councilwoman Hart's really focusing on this problem. And I think there's a lot of things that we can do and pull our resources together that we're all doing together. And I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. We are looking at the Angel program as a police agency. It's going to take some time and some work to get that going, but it's something that we are interested in. But we're still doing some research on that to see if we can get some help in that direction. But it'll take some time before we get going there. But we are working and talking with Tammy on that, and J-Town and KSB, who's already working on that program, and something that we'll definitely look at in the future.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and I appreciate how you understand the whole dynamic, because and the people in recovery are the ones that also show up to help, and I want to let you know that they're our backbone. they also show up to help, and it makes such a difference because people do recover. Some people think that it's a death sentence, and it's not. People recover, and they're amazing people. There are people that went to our schools and our churches and played softball and t-ball, and you know, whether it's because of genetics is a big part of it, and exposure, you know, all different things, exposure because of surgery, exposure because they were at a party and everybody else did it, and it just happened to be that they were the ones with the genetics and the risk. But we can get our people back. That's the whole point. We need to get our people back. They're worth it. We've invested in them their whole lives, and now's not the time to give up. It's the time to fight for them. But, okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tammy. And I appreciate all what you all are doing, because we certainly need a lot of help in this community, like so many communities, and working collaboratively with
Yes.
3 or 4 organizations is going to get more done in a more efficient manner. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for your.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under bids and contracts and requests for services, we have a request for sewer service request from and water from Parkway Drive. It's a cost-sharing project, and I know, Jessica, you're going to speak to it, but we also have Larry Clark, one of the owners, and Chad McCormick, I guess the engineer on the project, with us to answer questions, because we haven't done one of these in a while, this cost-sharing thing, so I think some of the council members probably hadn't heard one of these, so why don't you walk us through it?
Sure. There was a request to serve proposed tracks along Parkway Drive, owned by Mr. Larry Clark. And in order to properly serve it based on the zoning and the proposed uses that he's needing, there were water lines were not along Parkway Drive in this area. The 8-inch water main stops kind of at the back of Parkway Baptist Church, and then the 16-inch water main stops near Ty Summit Drive in the industrial park. So in order to serve this property, that water line needed to be extended, and ultimately it makes sense to loop because I believe the hydrant is very near where this property corner is. So in order to have water available to all of the property along Parkway Drive, that line needed to occur. Now for his use, it only needed to be an 8-inch line, but as a community need, a larger main is needed. And the City of Bardstown Water Department was looking already at down the road creating another 16-inch line under the Bluegrass Parkway to provide kind of some redundancy when a break ever occurs under the Bluegrass Parkway. That's not an easy repair to make quickly. So we were looking to improve that, provide better flow and serviceability for the existing customers and also for this development here. So the existing line currently ends as a 16 and then it goes down Ty Summit as a 12. And since this proposal, they got pricing for the 8, and typically the city offers in these construction reimbursement cost sharing instances where it benefits the community, the city water department will pay the difference in that cost to install the 8 to the size the city's requesting. Upon looking at it, doing some additional modeling, I actually think that a 12-inch will be sufficient based on our water modeling that we've performed. So that will actually even reduce the cost to both Mr. Clark and to the city even further. So, and again, part of that's because of the looping that's going to happen as well. It provides better flow. So I would recommend that we approve the request, provided that it meets all of our standards. This will go through the Division of Water and meet all of that review process that we normally follow for new service.
So Jessica, then by switching to the 12, that we'll just still be paying the difference between the 8 and the 12?
Yes.
This is what our typical agreements have been.
Right. I think the most recent one we had was over on Old Bend Way for Old Bend Acres, which was a street and a development that connected 245 with Philiatro Lane. That was originally designed as an 8, and we requested a 12, and we paid the difference between the 8 and the 12. Very similar, same type of situation.
we've done these, as I say, in the past, we just don't do them that often. I think when Philadelphia Lane was constructed, that was kind of a joint venture between some private developers, the county and the city, and we kind of partnered up on some of that water there too, for the same very reason that we're talking about this evening, because long-term it's to our benefit to have that larger line rather than just a small line serving the one property.
Correct.
So does anyone else have any other questions of Larry or Chad or Jessica?
Where exactly is the line going to be added to? They're not expanding an existing line, they're going to build a whole new line, am I correct?
Correct. So currently, there's a...
This map I couldn't figure out.
No, this map doesn't show the whole extent of the project.
Okay.
This is only showing the lots proposed to be platted at this time.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's kind of a smaller picture.
So where's it going to go from where to where?
From the fire hydrant at the back, kind of across from the storage units.
Little storage unit.
Yeah, the storage units, the last things there on Parkway Drive, past Anytime Fitness and Cinco de Mayo.
Storage units are on the right.
They're on the right. The water line ends across the street, across Parkway Drive, right there.
Okay.
Kind of at that back field where the cross drain, like just before you get to that big cross drain that goes under the road. So it'll go from there all the way along Parkway Drive to, I'm trying to think how.
Around the curve.
Around the curve, past the Welcome to Nelson County Industrial Park sign, to the end hydrant that you see maybe, I don't know how many feet past where Ty Summit Drive meets with, where that, it's before you get to Takigawa. But Ty Summit Drive, the new road in the industrial park, it's just past that, I believe.
Yeah, about 500 feet.
About 500 feet past that.
So like right now, the way I see this, Larry, you all got the 2.846 acre tract will be where there's development slated, then the other tract is for your retention. Is that correct?
Okay, the 2.46 acres was a land swap with the county. It's because when they put the road in, they gave us such a narrow lot. Basically, it doesn't join our property now, but we will be going on past that because the water line was stopped about, what, 800 or 900 feet back?
He's referring to this plat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He doesn't have the other.
Yeah, the total of the property is 61 acres.
About 58 to 60 acres.
Yeah, right. Right now, the development is going to be on that 2.8,
Right.
and then that 4.6 acre tract, that's going to be.
That's up for
retention.
sale.
Okay.
All the properties up for sale.
Well, and then there's quite a bit for detention purposes only, I see on this one.
It's around 5,000 feet, about, how many feet of water line?
Yeah, it's a little over a mile.
A little over a mile.
But that area you're talking about is the area closest to the church,
Right.
if you will, is just for detention only. It serves as a regional flood control basin.
Yeah,
It's
they'll
not
handle the
just for Larry's
61 acres and some other,
Yes, sir.
yeah. And I think we need a motion and to formally approve the request for the water and sewer services and the cost sharing agreement per recommendations of city engineer.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Williams. Any other discussion? All in favor then, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we don't have any HRB or correspondence. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our March 26th meeting. If there's no corrections or additions, we can approve them by unanimous consent. Okay. Under the financial report, Tracy is not here tonight, but I would report to the council that Tracy presented me with the first draft, or the rough draft of the budget late last week. I spent several hours this past weekend going through it. And today started with Tracy. We're partially through the general fund side of it. We'll get through the combined utilities hopefully by the end of the week. And then next week I'll hope to get with as many department heads as I can and go go through it with each one of them for their own departments. It's 12 departments, I'm not sure I'll get that done in a week, but maybe 2 weeks. So hopefully with that time schedule, it'll be in your all's hands for your all's look by the end of the month, which will be, we'll have the whole month of May, and we'll have a few work sessions to, or we devote part of 2 council meetings or 1 whole council meeting, whatever it looks like we're gonna need. We'll have plenty of time to have it passed and ordained before the June 30th deadline, so stay tuned. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us yet, but we're getting through it. Don't have any first readings, so Recreation Committee minutes, everybody had a chance. Any of the council members on the committee have any comments just to make about it?
Well, I'm going to speak to something that I'm going to turn it over to our engineer who's on the council. That would be Mr. Jones. We joke about that, but
Bill Shekels gave him a degree, I think.
he did.
He's bestowed a couple of degrees on it.
He's got plenty.
Bill said both of them are in education, David, you know.
Honorary.
Yeah, I'll be able to recognize them when they see it.
During our meeting, it was brought to our attention about some leakage in the building. And so we actually did as you read in the minutes, we actually toured the facility, and it was probably about a 28-minute tour. And we do have some areas of concern, and we obviously don't want anything to create a problem where we're affecting the territorial or the structural integrity of the building. So there's some things that we probably need to take a look at here, how the water is getting in and so forth. So you may want to speak to that some.
You know, with just the short tour that we did and looked at some of the affected areas, and this is something that Joe may have some insight into also, but we're getting some water inundation basically through the brick, you know, because that old brick is so porous that we're getting, you know, some wicking effect or whatever through the brick. But we feel like there are also some issues at the roof line and some flashing issues that may be causing some of that could add to some of that problem. But it is something that's going to need to be addressed. We have no ideas, or we haven't gotten any pricing or any type of estimates or anything like that as of yet. But we all felt as the committee that even going forward, you know, if we're looking towards new facilities in the future for our recreation department, that building, you know, would be part of our, you know, it's part of our heritage. It's a historic building. We definitely want to prevent any type of further damage from occurring to the building. There's some issues with the floor that's happening, and the floor is settling in certain parts of the building that's causing some issues with the tile and the restrooms and that type of thing. But what concerns us most is the water inundation. You know, we're getting some water coming through the brick. So,
David Daniel let me know about this issue this week, and I think is there also some possible roof issues with this building?
Yes.
Yes,
with this building also.
So
it's something that I definitely think we need to explore and get some professional opinions as to what we can do to head off that problem.
do you think, I told him, I said, I guess the timing is probably good to some degree because we are in the budgeting process. Do you think that's something we could maybe get an estimate on within the next month and a half? Or would that be difficult to do?
It may be difficult to get something back within that. I mean, it's worth a shot. It may be difficult to get any good feedback.
I might want to get with you that maybe try to get some kind of just an estimate to get in our budget, and then we can always amend if it comes in higher than that, or it'd be great if it came lower.
Well, I hate to pick on Joe, but Joe's got a lot of experience with these old buildings, and he could be a huge help. And if we're going to try to get some type of guesstimation, is what we may be able to put in the budget. Joe would be some good input.
Yeah, 'cause once you've got water coming in, it does a lot of damage.
Is the water in one particular area?
Doesn't stop.
It's in several places.
Several spots.
Up high?
Up high. Yeah, and the lower end of the building, which could be just roof and flashing issues
Could be as simple as tuck pointing too.
and tuck pointing.
Seeing up that high, you can't see it from the ground.
Right.
Once that starts, it's until you tuck point it, you can't stop. And that might be the solution, hopefully.
And hopefully that's the solution. It's not the brick that is deteriorating
Right.
itself, but hopefully the tuck pointing.
And a waterproofing membrane. That's all.
Would it be okay with you two, if we let you two work with Daniel some on this and try to work with us, maybe get us something we can get in our budget from a maintenance standpoint?
Absolutely.
Anything else to report?
No, that's it. And the other thing they mentioned to us too is after they have a rain event, they're having mops and buckets and they're having to, clean up and stuff like that. So we really need to.
Is that
take a
the
look
water
at it.
or the building sweating?
It's water.
Yeah, after rain events, they're having,
Had a new roof, well, just a few years ago, wasn't it? Hasn't been that long.
I don't remember that.
I'm not sure how long ago that's been. We didn't really discuss it.
It looks pretty good.
Daniel might know that. I'm sure we got records of that.
And I don't think the majority, and Councilman Williams could correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't discuss one incidence of the roof being the issue. It was actually coming through the wall. Or up high, like you said, a tuck point or flashing issue or something that's getting behind the brick, either from guttering or something of that nature.
Yeah, thank you, guys. We can go ahead and approve those then by unanimous consent after the discussion. I skipped over, I think I got out of line on the agenda as far as the Western bypass.
Try backing up and refreshing.
Yeah, anyway, no, I got it, it's all right.
Well, just on.
It's next on the agenda. I thought it actually gotten in before the recreation. So, not to take anything away from Randy Patrick and Jim Brooks, and I know we're going to have big stories probably coming out tomorrow and so forth about the Western bypass, since we had a meeting yesterday where the state met with local officials to announce, there was 4 proposed corridors, and they narrowed it down to 2, and then finally got it narrowed down to 1, and we included them in your packet this evening. At this point, it looks like the innermost corridor is the one that the state most favors, and there's a number of reasons for that. And they do all the modeling. They, of course, bring in an engineering firm, do all the modeling, and what they feel like is the best proposal in terms of benefit from the traffic, from the standpoint of cost, from the standpoint of safety, and so forth. So the inner corridor was the one that they are recommending, which has, of course, it's the shortest one. It also has the least cost, least problems with right-of-way acquisition and utility relocation and so forth. But during the discussion yesterday, there was also a lot of discussion about the benefits of the outer corridor, or excuse me, the outer plan, but that comes at a much higher cost. I think the inner corridor is proposed at like just under $8 million, and the outer one was somewhere between 20 and 30 million, depending on how much of it they do and so forth. There's good arguments to be made, I think, for both. I think Judge Watson, the magistrates, I think, favor the outer corridor. There were some comments from the planning commissions, one of their members, about, the outer corridor, it's longer, less development out there, more potential for development, land use, and so forth. But where I'm coming from, I made a point of saying that I would be on record to support the inner corridor number one, because the state's analysis, the numbers support it. The benefit and the pay, and the business world, you call it return on investment, is higher for that corridor than it is on the outer corridor. Just some basic numbers that I think are worth sharing with you all tonight of where I was coming from is that the inner corridor in 2040 is forecast to handle 3,000 to 4,000 cars per day more than the outer corridor. Another thing is the inner corridor has a better opportunity of getting on the 6-year plan, getting funding, getting all the right-of-ways worked out much faster than the outer corridor, because it's like a little less than 2 miles versus the outer corridor's 7 miles or greater. But, as a city, we have a major traffic problem now. The population of Bardstown is approximately 28% of the entire county population. That alone means the amount of vehicles just serving this area is going to be much greater than any place in the county, certainly that outer area. But the truck traffic is significant in this whole discussion now that the rock quarry is pretty much relocated out there, the asphalt plant is relocated. And I've seen, they didn't present these numbers yesterday, but I've seen some estimates that are pretty, I think you can base some of your opinion on it pretty strongly, and that is, now that the quarry is out there and the asphalt plant, just for trucks going to and from the quarry, now you got to figure, most of that traffic is two ways. They come in loaded, they go back out empty. Because most all the rock that's coming out of the quarry is pretty much truckers based out of the quarry. There's some one-way traffic, somebody owns a truck, haul a load of rock to their farm or their house. But the numbers I've seen shared are estimating that now that this is the truck traffic alone is going to be 5,000 to 7,000 trips per month. Some months it'll get up, now this is the two-way. Some months it might even get up as much as 9,000. That means without any help, you're going to have anywhere from 20 to 30 trucks coming straight into the court square and going around the courthouse in some direction to try to get north and east and south per hour. 20 to 30 trucks an hour during the workday. Now that doesn't count the fact that we've got 4 high schools in this city limits and all the corresponding middle schools and elementary schools, all the factories, all the distilleries. Probably 80% of the jobs are located within our city limits. And so the outer route will be great to have, but I think the most imminent problem we got is traffic here in the city, and the quickest, one of the first ways we can get some help is for the inner route. It's got a better chance of getting funding. Right now you hear the discussion in Frankfurt, they're talking about they're a minimum of $150 million a year short for transportation needs. And they're struggling with trying to figure out a way to fund that. They're talking about raising the floor on the gas tax and some other tax issues. But to this point, they haven't pulled the trigger on it. So, how hard do you think it's going to get funding for a $30 million project and require all the land acquisition? So, I think for those reasons that I've stated this evening, that the city needs to be on record that we support the inner route, which is the same conclusion the state's come to for some of the discussion that I've shared with you this evening. The judge, he did make I think at one point he said, we have an understanding, he and I. And he said, last I checked, the city of Bardstown was in the county. I said, yes, it sure is. I said, but we do constitute 28% of the population. And my understanding and his understanding isn't in agreement. He would prefer the outer route. And we we've met on it, we've talked about it. He understands from where I'm sitting and where you all are sitting, the people we represent, we've got to be asking for the interim. That's when we're going to get the most help the soonest. And the next thing that's going to happen, they've got, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. They've got $500,000 approved just for the preliminary design. That's all the money that's appropriated at this point. So that'll start, I think they said in May, that money will be, the bid will be put out for folks to do the preliminary design. Then once they have design, then you've got establish a budget, and you've got, it gets on the 6-year plan, then you got right-of-way acquisitions, and utility relocation. You've got to deal with all the property owners and so forth, so it's not going to happen overnight. But if we don't make our needs known to the state and so forth, we're due for our share of that help. In recent years, Springfield's had a lot of work going on in that direction. London's had a lot of work going in that direction. I think we're overdue for some help here. We've, of course, just had the bridge done, and the Highway 150 project between the bridge and the burn will be the next major thing. So they said yesterday that the best case scenario, this might get 6 years, you might get it let. So it's still a long way down the road, but we really need it. Those truck numbers, that doesn't even take into consideration the Barton trucks, that have to come through town. But if you think about it, those thousands and thousands of trucks, if they come into that shorter route, I think you're familiar with where they're coming off Airport Road on 62. They'll come right to the top of the hill over the bridge at 62. They can take them straight over to 245. That gives them a lot of options to get to the places they need to go. They can go 245 west, pretty quickly. 245 takes them to 31E north, takes them to 62 east, gets them over to the Bluegrass Parkway. Everything east and north, which is where a lot of the development's going. The outer route, will not be the route of choice for trucks going to a lot of those places. They're still going to come, they're going to have to come right through downtown to go east. But if we get this, they'll go over to 245 and travel east on 245. They get to Louisville Road north quicker that way. They can get to 62. So I just think, I'm rambling a little bit, but I think it's such an important project that, we've got to be in support of that for these reasons. So we'll see how it goes. Some of us might not be around here in an elected position, but I hope all of us are going to be around and enjoying the relief we're going to get. 3,000 cars a day, I asked one of the gentlemen who was supporting, I said, what are we going to do with those 3,000 or 4,000 cars a day in 2040? So that problem's going to be here in November.
You already see the road damage on 62. It's really bad.
Yeah, drive on West Stephen Foster, going out 62 right now.
Well, not to mention, if you talk to the folks from the quarry, the majority of their business is east. So it's not a great amount of their business, or the rock business is west, it's going east.
Sure. And we need, and I hope nobody construes this to say that they're creating a problem. We have got to have a quarry. This quarry's mined out, and it's not going to be there much longer. We've got to have a quarry to serve all our needs. And so we need an asphalt plant, and we need a landfill. But we also need ways to get that traffic around Barton's traffic. Not to mention all the other just commercial traffic that's coming through our community to serve all the, we've got a very vibrant economy. We've got hundreds of thousands of visitors coming through for the Bourbon Trail. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. It's going to be worse before it gets better. So, but I'm happy that they've gotten to this stage where going to be pushing, and we're hopeful that Senator Higdon and Representative McCoy can get us on a 6-year plan and get moving with it. So, but I wanted to share this with you all tonight because I know Randy and Jim will do a great job reporting on it, but I thought you all needed to see where I was coming from. And I thought that this was the best route for the city at this point. Okay. Anybody got any questions? Got a donation request for the community clinic 5K run. We have had this the last few years from them, and I think last year, Mary, last year and the year before, we did $500.
That's right.
I think you all know what the community clinic does for our city and county, and this is one of their fundraisers, and we have given them $500 the last couple of years. You also see the I forget the date on that, but June 8th, okay. So, if you all are in agreement, I would ask for a motion then to approve the donation to the Nelson County Community Clinic 5K run, and we have funds in our community grant funds to take care of that.
And I'm more than happy to make that motion, Mayor, but does this have to be introduced or sponsored?
It does technically. I think we were talking about
Yes.
you introducing it.
Yes.
Okay.
David and I are going to partner on that.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would like to introduce, if I'm in order, the 5K run for the health of it, to benefit the Nelson County Community Clinic. And if the mission statement, if I could read that, the mission of the Nelson County Community Clinic is to provide access to basic health, dental, and vision care, prescription assistance, and advocacy and education to low-income Nelson County residents who remain uninsured or are underinsured, which will result in a healthier community.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Okay, so we have Councilman Dawes, Councilman Williams have sponsored the request, and there's a motion to approve $500 donation for this request. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, the next one, I also will need someone to introduce this resolution 2019-01 and ask the city attorney to read it, and then I can give some more background to this once it's been introduced and read.
Somebody's going to introduce
Mayor, if I may be in order, I'd like to introduce Resolution 2019-01, a resolution approving the granting of inducements to the Bardstown Bourbon Company, LLC, for the purpose of attracting and retaining jobs pursuant to KRS Chapter 154, subsection 24.
Okay, Councilman Shepard. Audrey, would you like to read the resolution, please?
Resolution 2019-01, a resolution approving the granting of inducements to the Bardstown Bourbon Company, LLC, for the purpose of attracting and retaining jobs pursuant to KRS Chapter 154, subsection 24. Whereas the City Council, parentheses, the Council, close parentheses, of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky, parentheses, the City, close parentheses, finds it is a legitimate public purpose of the city to undertake activities for the purpose of attracting and retaining jobs for residents of this community. And whereas the Kentucky General Assembly in 2009 enacted KRS 154 subsection 32-010 to 154 subsection 32-100 establishing the Kentucky Business Investment parentheses KBI program for the purpose of encouraging the development and expansion of the manufacturing, service, and technology industries in Kentucky. And whereas this program provides state inducements to businesses which locate in or remain in the Commonwealth, thus creating and preserving jobs for Kentuckians. And whereas this program encourages local governments to participate in these inducements for businesses within their jurisdictions, and whereas the Bardstown Bourbon Company LLC is soliciting the city for support of its application under the Kentucky Business Investment, for instance, KBI program, under KRS 154.132.010 through 100. And whereas the city has expressed its willingness to support a 0.5% credit of the city's occupational tax fee on new jobs created by the Bardstown Bourbon Company LLC as part of this economic development program for a project for a 10-year period, such credit applying only to the new Kentucky resident jobs created by the project. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky, for instance, the city, close parentheses, as follows. Section 1, that the City Council authorizes a credit of its occupational tax fees pursuant to KRS 154.32.010 through 100 to the Bardstown Bourbon Company LLC and any subsequent assignees and approved affiliates thereof under the KBI program for and throughout a 10-year period beginning from the effective date of this resolution. The credit of its occupational tax fees shall be equal to 0.5% on the wages of the new resident employees of the Bardstown Bourbon Company LLC created as part of this economic development project. Section 2, that the mayor and other appropriate officers and employees of the city are authorized and directed to execute, acknowledge, and deliver on behalf of the city any and all papers, instruments, certificates, affidavits, and other documents, and to do and cause to be done any and all acts and things necessary or proper for the granting of the inducements authorized by the act and this resolution. Section 3, this resolution shall become effective upon its passage and approval.
Okay. So just give you a little background on it. They made this request to the KBI program back in about August of 2017. And at that point, all we do as the city is to advise the state of our support of the program and that we would participate in this incentive in the event that the project got approved and was actually constructed. The state doesn't give the incentives, obviously, until there's a project that gets designed, and constructed, and built. So this was the phase 2, the first phase. This was phase 2 for Bardstown Bourbon Company. This was an $18 million expansion of their distillery. It was, I guess, designed and so forth. And Dave, you might know better than me when they actually finished that. But it was an $18 million project. It only added 10 jobs, so we're only committed to giving this credit for 10 years for those 10 jobs. And that's half of our occupational tax. So now that the project's been completed, they're formally requesting the incentives from the state. So this resolution is part of, we have to formally vote that we will grant this credit in order for them to help get the incentives that they've requested from the state. So and we've done this, I know George Sheckles, when he was mayor, when they probably did the initial construction, maybe we did that. I think we did it on Flyers Foods and some of the others.
Collier, Collier.
It's been ordained so that we can now offer this to any major expansion or new job creations.
Does it just take into account the distillery, or does the restaurant come to play too?
No, it's just these 10 jobs associated with this new manufacturing part. That's the only Collier was the same thing.
Yeah.
Collier added maybe 15 jobs.
We have an expanded industry.
Right.
Well, I remember, it was like 19 jobs in Paul. Yeah, it was like 19 jobs in Paul every first.
So, but I think they may have done another expansion since this one.
Since then?
So,
Well, this one was completed in July of 2018. So,
Jessica's over nodding her head. She knows.
That sounds right.
All too well how many times they've expanded in no time. But, their business is doing well. They're making major investments in the community. And I think it's great that we are in a position that we can help with these incentive packages on a local basis. And that's the other thing the state is looking for. we've got to have some local participation. It can't always be at the state level to help entice these people to make these additional investments, both whether it's a new job creations or expansions. So, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
So we have an introduction.
Oh, excuse me, we did. Councilman Shepherd's introduced. Now I need a motion and a second to approve the resolution 2019-01 for these credits per the resolution. So I need a motion.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Williams. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Hibbs. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Mayor, may I interject?
Yes.
Would it be essential for Councilman Jones to abstain due to his relationship? Did you see he has some past COAs and things of that nature relating to them?
Well,
Should there-
I thought about it, I was thinking about it when we were reading I couldn't personally see where it would be any conflict on my part as far as the occupational tax.
And the fact that
I'd be happy to.
the project's already
abstain.
completed.
Yes.
The project's complete,
And we made the commitment back in 2017. So,
but I'd be happy to abstain if it was.
It's fine.
I don't think it's.
Sorry.
I know. And I think you're right, I think just to be on the safe side, maybe I should, but
I think you're okay, since the project's completed, the city made that commitment 2 years ago. Okay, we have a motion, a second, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, anyone from the council have any comments or anything they need to announce this evening? Well, I would like to announce that Councilman Hibbs has a birthday coming up Thursday night, so I think we need to announce that. So, wish him happy birthday in advance.
33.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I don't want to be outdone. Sunday, my wife and I will be celebrating our 46th anniversary.
45 happy years. 45 happy years.
Okay, anybody else have any other announcements? We do have some cemetery deeds. Julie Watson requests for 1 grave, David Newman Sr., 1 grave, and Nolan Berry, 1 grave. So we approve them by unanimous consent. And the last thing I would say, getting off the highway stuff somewhat, but you may not have noticed, but hopefully you have, Paul and Philip have been doing some spring cleaning around the community, and they have been washing all the highway signs on all the major corridors coming in and out of town. Speed limit signs, directional signs, wayfaring signs, and so forth. And it really does look a lot nicer. And we've got some work, next project I think they're going to be working on is at the farmer's market. Need some painting and some repair, some of the wooden doors down there and freshen those signs. He's about to put them back up. The signs down here on our park here at Jones Avenue, we're going to get them redone, and I think our community park sign up on, is that Daughtery or what street is that? East Halsted. That one needs to be, but they've done some pretty dangerous work from time to time to be located, and I know Chief and them have provided some help for them. I mean, when you're on New Haven Road, the hill, and that's pretty tight trying to wash those signs. The Phil Hill and lots of other places in and around town. It's pretty dangerous, and thank Chief y'all for helping them accomplish this. And, just trying to get our community looking nice here in the spring. keep America's most beautiful small town looking beautiful.
I'd like to expound on that just a little bit too.
Sure.
Downtown has looked better in the last 2 weeks than it has in a year. As far as being kept clean, things picked up. Parking lots are actually really clean over the weekend. Cigarette butts have been picked up. Seems like it's kind of working.
Yeah,
So that's a good thing.
Phil, I asked him about that. He said it's probably saving 2 hours a week on his and Paul's time downtown, picking up, because I think the local restaurant bar owners have hired someone to help police the areas, and so, how about behind the standard?
So far so good, but we haven't gotten into the warm weather yet, so we're not sticking around that long.
I don't know what time he starts, but at 7:30 a.m. on Saturday, they haven't started. Yes. Frank Wilson and I picked up some broken bottles and some beer cans and so forth out behind in the city parking lot, just trying to do our own part, helping keep it clean. But I do know there's someone there making the rounds every day, so hopefully it's getting better. So it's great to see some cooperation in that regard.
There's been quite a few more cameras installed downtown too.
Good.
Quite a few more cameras on buildings and so forth.
So the corridors coming in and out of town, this everyday dust and exhaust from the vehicles and so forth, just these signs that they're not touched for years, they get really dark. Even the railroad track, I think he even cleaned some of the signs on 62 on the railroad crossing, cleaned them up. So they were some of the hardest ones to clean. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you all. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I could ask for adjournment. Have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Buckland, second by Councilman Hibbs.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.